My dear students of A level, we are going to start this new session. We are going to do this biodiversity. You can see on the board, the topic is going to be biodiversity. What is biodiversity? You can break it. Bio. Now what is bio? It's living plants and animals. Both plants and animals. Then diversity is variation. It is the variety of life. It can be plants or it can be animals. Variety of life. Starting from, when you say plants, it can be from one cell organism to more complicated plants, or from one cell animals to multicellular animals. And there are variations between species, variations between the same species. That is where we find this meaning of biodiversity. Where do we find this? Where do we find this? In an ecosystem. In an ecosystem. This biodiversity is found in ecosystems. Now what are ecosystems? You find sea, or a desert, or a pond, or a rainforest. Now these are ecosystems in nature. What do we get in this? What is the ecosystem? There are animals, there are plants, and then you get the environment. You get the environment. So it is a interrelationship between plants, animals, and how they interact with the environment. So that is the ecosystem we talk of. Now we say ecosystem is a self-supporting system. Self-supporting system interacting with each other and with the physical environment. Ecosystem can be small like a pond, or large as a mangrove. Where do you find mangroves? In Alakanda. You get mangroves. That other side of the canal, you get a vegetation which we call mangrove. You can see the roots are coming out of the soil. Why? Because the land is waterlogged. Roots are coming out so that they can respire. So this mangrove is a different vegetation. A desert, a pond, the sea, all these are ecosystems. Biodiversity is a combination of two measurements. Biodiversity measures number of different species present. Number of different species present. Now, in this ecosystem, you can see number of different species present. And we call it is the species richness. How rich these species are. It can be, they are concentrating here. Species. So here it is rich. Species richness, or whether they are distributed in this ecosystem. Then we say relative abundance of each species. Relative abundance of each species. In this ecosystem, how many of these animals are abundant? We will say tigers or cats or deer. We can take one particular species and count how many of them are here. Now we know this wildlife. They always have a statistics. In this particular area, there are so many of these animals. Peacocks, so many are there. Deer, so many. Elephants, so many. So that is the species richness. Species richness. Now biodiversity comprises of every form of life. Every form of life. From the smallest to the most advanced animal, or smallest plant to the most advanced plants. The genes that give them specific characteristic and the ecosystem in which they live. This includes diversity within species. Even within species, one particular species, there can be changes. Why? There is mutation taking place. Mutation. Now, like the most popular, presently we know coronavirus, COVID-19 virus. We say there is a new strain in India. Then they say there is a new strain developing in America. What happens? It is one species, but variations. Because mutation is taking place. So you get different varieties developing. Species is a closely related organisms that are able to interbred. What is a species? Species is can interbred and they are closely related. When we talk of a species, we say they are closely related and they can be interbred. So they can produce offspring. That is how we identify the meaning of species. Then ecology. What is ecology? Various species are part of a complex system. Interaction between physical world, interaction with the physical world. Now when we say interaction with the environment, what is the environment? Talk of soil, air, temperature, pressure, rainfall, all these things are the environment and how they affect the plants and animals, all living beings. That is how they are interrelated. Then, what is an ecological niche? Now, you can refer my note on biodiversity. Please keep this note and refer while I am explaining this. Every species lives in a particular ecological niche. There are food niches. It's an ecological niche. Food niches, habitat niches. That's a small area where there is food. Now these particular species, they concentrate in a particular area because there is food for them. If there are deers, they will all get together. Why? There is protection from the enemy, there is food for them, so they are called food niches and they live in that particular area. Then how an organism or population respond to the distribution of resources and competition. Ecosystem is a community made up of living organisms and non-living components. Living organisms means plants and animals. Living organism from the smallest animal to the most advanced animal, or from the smallest plant, one cell plants, to the most complex plants. Interact with the environment. When we talk of the environment, we talk of soil, minerals, air, water, temperature, rainfall, all these affect them. Examples, you get coral reefs, marine ecosystem and rainforest. Now rainforest, we know in Sri Lanka you get rainforest, but our people are destroyed in stages, but we have to look after them. Habitat. Now what is a habitat? Is a type of natural environment in which a particular species of organism live. Now what is our habitat? Are we going to live in the jungle? No, that is not our habitat. Here we are living, we will say we are in Maboli. So that is our habitat. We live in this area, we are living in a house. So our habitat is that, human beings. It is characterized by both physical and biological features where humans can live. Species habitat is those places where it can find food, shelter and protection. Now animals in a particular ecosystem, they live in places where there is food, where there is shelter and where there is protection. And also there must be mates. What do you mean by mates? There should be males and females both, so that they can produce their offspring, because they want to increase our population. That is what the human beings are also doing, increase our population. So animals also do that. So they look for a place to live where there is food, where there is protection, where there is mates for them to live and shelter. What is a community? Community can be a small or large group having similar, having something that is common, having something that is common. For example, now we can talk of Mabole. Now there are a lot of Muslims in Mabole. Why? Because they have something in common. They have the one religion. They are all mostly Muslims. So it's a community where they are living together. They have common characteristics, common family behaviors, their religion. So we call it a community. That is why they are living in a common place. So the community is that. Example, among the animals you get the rock pool. In a rock pool you get different types of animals. So that is their community. They, as a group, they are living in a particular place, because they can't live in a freshwater pond. They are living in the sea, rock sea. Now see, these days they are talking of corals. They are talking of turtles. Now what is happening to them? They have been living in certain places. These turtles are supposed to come to the beaches to lay eggs. Now, so they are near the ship and they are affected by that. So they are getting killed. So that is their habitat. That's why they are coming in groups, 5, 6, 7 people every day they are dying. Population. What is the population? Group of organisms of the same species living and breeding together in a particular habitat. Living and breeding together in a particular habitat. If we say Vattala, what is the population? Now we are in a particular area. We are living together. The population of Vattala is so much. So that is a group of organisms of the same species, human beings, living and breeding together in a particular niche. It can be why we are living here, because convenient for us to come for work or food or whatever it is. It's a particular niche. Because of the niche, we live in that particular place. Now, for example, sundew plant. Now there is a plant called sundew plant. Now sundew plants have sticky structures projecting from the leaf. There is a leaf and projecting particles, the organs from here where there are sticky structures. Now what happens is, when these structures are shining, when the sun falls, the insects are attracted. Insects come to this. Insects come and land on this sundew plant. Then what happens? Sundew plant becomes, it is so sensitive to these insects. When the insects come, these hairs will start folding. It will start folding and entrap the insect. corrupt the insect, secrete digestive juices, digest the insect and absorb. So these are carnivorous, we call carnivorous plants. That is how they get their organic matter. Then seal, you know seal. Where do you get seal? Seal is in the sea. Seal has lot of fat in the body and we call blubber. Blubber is, body is full of fat. So they can swim in the water even when there is winter. There is ice, but they can swim because of the blubber. Lot of fat in the body, thick layer of fat. Now these are some of the physiological adaptations. Adaptations of their biochemical pathway. Seal. Seal is a diving mammal. We say diving mammal. What happens when they dive? The heart rate drops so that they can slowly swim. Escape the polar bear. Polar bear is the one who feeds on them. Polar bear is the one who feeds on them. So they can escape so that less blood is pumped around the body. Mussels can use anaerobic respiration. Now these seals, when they jump into the sea, they can go through anaerobic respiration so that they don't have to breathe faster, but they can move fast in the water. But their brain is supplied with enough oxygen. Mussels can use anaerobic respiration. Brain is supplied with blood containing enough oxygen. This is called a mammalian diving response. Mammalian diving response. Behavioral adaptations. Then we talk of cormorants. Now these are some special type of birds. They come and dive into the sea. They can dive directly and catch the fish and move out. But these cormorants dive for fish. They are not well insulated. They say they are not well insulated, but still they go into the water, come out and brush this water out, and again they dive for fish. Now these are called behavioral adaptations. Because the water is cold, they can't remain for a long time. As they come, they dive in, get the fish and come out. These behavioral adaptations are more important than physiological in colder niches. In colder niches, spend less time on the surface and dry and then come back again to the water. Then, now these are some of the adaptations by these animals. Now what is natural selection? The next is natural selection. What is natural selection? Now mutations cause small changes in the genes. Natural selection. Now these mutations. Now what is happening in our COVID-19 virus? Mutations are happening. So because of that, different strains are developing, and these strains cannot be controlled by us. Now they talk of the vaccines are not responding to the present strains. Then it becomes a problem. Now the same thing is happening with rats. Now those days we used to put baits for the rats, warfarin. But now they have become resistant to that. They have become resistant to that. And also, we talk of those days when people have a cough or cold or any fever, they go to the pharmacy and ask for tetracycline. So the pharmacists give. What happens now? These tetracyclines are becoming resistant. So the microorganisms becoming resistant to these chemicals. So it becomes a big problem even in the hospital. That is why in foreign countries they don't go to the specialist. They have the family doctor. You go to the family doctor. If necessary only he will give some medicine, otherwise no. But here what they do is they go to the family doctor, they go to the pharmacy, they get whatever they want and take it in, which is not a good practice. Right? So these changes are advantages to survive and respond. So mutations can change them. Mutations can change and it becomes a problem. For mosquitoes, same problem has happened. Why? Now we talk of biodiversity, we ask why biodiversity is important. Why biodiversity is important? We have learned that organisms in an ecosystem are interdependent and how they can affect the physical conditions around them. Organisms are interdependent. We know that plants are eaten by animals. That animal is eaten by another animal. So there is food chain. There is food chain. So plants have to exist, animals have to exist. That is why this biodiversity is important. These ecosystems are interlinked on large scale across the earth. Now you can see there is a theory of evolution that we say this whole world was together. After that it started drifting. Now you see India, Sri Lanka. It has drifted. It was together earlier. Now you see the Tamil Nadu and Sri Lanka. The same type of people, same animals. That shows it was together and it has got drifted due to drifting. So in the theory of evolution they talk of this. So ecosystems are interlinked on large scale across the earth. It's all interlinked. Biodiversity is reduced in one area, natural balance may be affected elsewhere. If this balance goes out of control, it is affecting some other area. That is why they always talk of not to cut trees, not to clear jungles, because it is affecting not only that particular place, it is affecting the whole country. Biodiversity is reduced in one area, the natural balance may be affected in elsewhere. Healthy biodiversity allows large-scale ecosystem to function and self-regulate. That is our rainforest. There is a biodiversity, rich biodiversity. There are a lot of plants, lot of animals interact with the environment, and it's a rich animal, it's a rich biodiversity. So we have to protect that. Waste is decomposed by bacteria and fungi and make them non-toxic. Waste is decomposed by bacteria and other fungi. Microorganisms in soil and water converts ammonia into nitrate ions where it can be taken up by plants. See, this is how the cycle, nitrogen cycle, carbon cycle is helpful in these biodiversities. So photosynthesis plays an important part, stabilizing the atmosphere and world climate. There must be enough plants in these places. If not, there is not enough photosynthesis and not enough oxygen is released into the atmosphere. If there is no oxygen in the atmosphere, we will have a problem for breathing. Now breathing is important, oxygen has to be produced, photosynthesis has to go on, there must be a lot of trees so that photosynthesis can go on producing oxygen. The plant roots hold the soil together and prevent landslides. We have another problem here, landslides in this country. Why? Because we cut down trees, we cut down soil to put up houses. Because of this, landslides are very common in this country. So we have to watch this situation and prevent this type of thing. So this is how you have to look after the biodiversity of this on the whole earth, on this earth. So every ecosystem has to be protected by people. That is why plants have to be grown, animals are there, then it interacts with the environment so that the biodiversity becomes richer and richer. And the climatic conditions will be favorable for people to live. So we'll continue in the next session from here. So all the best. God bless you all.